Hi, my name is Daniel Teo. Many on the Medtech investment circuit today will recognize me as a founder and managing partner for Honeywell Lake Ventures. We're a US West Coast VC firm focused on surgical innovations. For today, I'm speaking as a board member at Picard Medical, one of our portfolio companies, and its 100% subsidiary SynCardia Systems. They're the manufacturer of the world's first and only FDA-approved total artificial heart, or TAH, that's now poised for significant growth over the next few years. Now, because we're on track for a public listing, this presentation is provided for your information only and is not a solicitation to issue or sell any securities. The customary safe harbor provisions, disclaimers, and risk disclosures here can also be downloaded from our website and from the LSI Summit website. Now, the TAH, or total artificial heart, is a mechanical device that replaces the full functions of a failed or failing heart in cases of end-stage biventricular failure. It addresses a $30 billion market share, TAM, of which we are the dominant, if not only player in most markets in a potentially $5 billion SAM. It is approved by the FDA under a Class 3 PMA as a bridge to transplant and has a strong track record of clinical successes with over 2,000 implants already. Now, because we're in Europe, I need to stress that we're not currently available in Europe. This is not a marketing presentation for clinicians, and that we last year have withdrawn our long-standing registration under CE-MDD so that we could devote our full resources to secure the CE-MDR certification, hopefully by early next year. The company is poised for significant growth over the next few years on the back of one, new product upgrades and the launch of next-gen devices. Two, a proposed expansion of its current labeling to long-term therapy. And three, global expansion to China, India, and elsewhere in Asia, quadrupling the current market reach. As mentioned earlier, financial audits have been completed and a proxy statement filed with the SEC for a reverse merger with a NASDAQ-listed SPAC. So, God willing, Picard Medical will become a listed company by the year end at a valuation of about $480 million. Meanwhile, it's currently raising a $10 million convertible note and a $43 million pre-listing equity round. Cardiovascular diseases are the leading cause of death globally. We all know that, and with 6.2 million cases of heart failure annually in the US, growing to 8 million by 2030, or 86 million globally, long-term effects of COVID is likely to add to these numbers. Of these, 5 to 6% will still progress to end-stage heart failure, and that's 4.2 million patients a year now. LVADs can assist somewhat when it's still the left ventricle that's in trouble. Very often, we know that left ventricular failure leads to right ventricular failure or biventricular failure as well if they don't die first. And so at that point, a heart transplant is needed. The problem, though, is that there's currently a huge imbalance between the 300 to 400 cases of end-stage heart failure in the US and the 4,000 donor hearts that are available annually. The discrepancy is even wider elsewhere in the world, where donor hearts are even more difficult to come by. Now, this is where the SynCardia TAH system comes in. The system, which sells at $180,000 in the US, comprises of an implant in the chest cavity that replaces the native heart, and it's powered by an external pneumatic driver connected by drive lines and cannulas. Now, for the implant, which you want to keep simple and limit the points of failure, it has only 13 movable or mechanical components with no complicated electronics or software that can fail or they need to be upgraded or replaced. The ventricles are molded from a proprietary plastic called SPAS with proven biocompatibility and a unique geometry that minimizes hemolysis, and a precisely tilting disc in the valves further act to gently wash the connecting blood vessels as the blood passes through the valves. A diaphragm made from SPAS also separates the blood from the external air, providing true pulsatile flow, which mimics the hemodynamics of the human heart, and it's much gentler on the blood than a continuous flow propeller, whipping your blood at about 3,000 to 6,000 revolutions per minute. Now, these implants are currently available in two sizes, a 70cc for the larger adult male, delivering up to 10.5 liters of flow, and a 50cc for smaller adults, women, and teenagers, delivering up to 7.5 liters. All of this blood is driven from either a hospital driver called the C2 or home discharge driver, the Freedom. The C2 is mounted on a hospital cart with adjustable pumping parameters to not only deliver the precise waveforms that are needed to drive the heart, but they also provide the means to monitor patient conditions without sensors or electrical connections. Now, once a patient is stabilized and stabilizes post-operatively, he is transferred to the home discharge driver, which is a 6 kg device that is carried around or pulled on a backpack. Today, the SynCardia TAH has an enviable clinical track record with over 2,000 implants in over 25 countries around the world with different genders, different ages, and ethnicities. Most of the patients present themselves with some form of dilated or restrictive cardiomyopathy, but they also have niche users in congenital heart diseases and in graft rejections. Dozens of clinical studies have been published in medical journals, have demonstrated its efficacy as a bridge to transplant. Two are discussed here, and the rest are available and can be viewed from our company website. This pivotal article from the New England Journal shows that patients bridged to transplant with a TAH have almost twice the survival rate versus a control group of equally ill patients who are waiting for a transplant without the TAH. Now, in almost all of the cases where the TAH patients do not survive, they die not because of device failure or from heart failure, which can't be possible because they don't have a heart, but most frequently from other organ failures. A similar study in 2020 by NONS confirms a similar sort of survival profile with 75% of the TAH patients surviving up to 10 months or more. Remember, by the time these patients come onto the TAH, more than 80% of them are Intermex 1 and 2, and for those familiar with that scale, they represent the sickest of the sick patients in cardiovascular and people who are facing imminent death. So some of our patients don't necessarily get a transplant right away, and some may never will for various reasons, maybe medical or for personal reasons. So about 8% or so far, 180 of our patients were on the TAH for more than 2 years, and the record duration being 6 years and 9 months. And right now, as we speak, we have alive 2 patients who are fast approaching their 6th anniversary. These patients are kept alive not in a vegetative state in a hospital, but most, especially the 1/3 of the 2,000 who are discharged home on the Freedom Driver, enjoy a high quality of life with considerable mobility and leading very normal lives. And here's Johnny playing golf just 2 months after his implant with an artificial heart. And you can see in this photo the driver next to him. Here are more of our amazing ex-patients who, while on the TAH, do crazy things like hiking 1,000 kilometers in Alaska, box, run, play basketball, go on hunting trips, or spend precious time with their children or grandchildren. In the US, we have already had 2 pre-sub meetings with the FDA to discuss expanding the labeling from bridge to transplant to long-term therapy. And I expect to make a full submission by year end, and we're very confident about our success rate there. In Europe, we expect to submit our MDR application by the year end as well, and expect to return to Europe on an accelerated approval pathway because this is not a new device, and so approval will be based largely on all data that was submitted for MDD. Reimbursement by the US CMS is under the DRG 001 with the highest of the DRG codes that pays up to $425,000 per implant. We're also covered per procedure, rather. We're also covered by most private insurance in the US that pays somewhere between $600,000 to $700,000 for each procedure, compared with the $180,000 price tag for an implant. This works well for most hospitals, and if it happens that a discharged TAH patient returns for a donor heart, the hospital gets to be paid twice for 2 procedures instead of 1. So in the pipeline, there's a series of new product upgrades that we have put in place that will make the device more user-friendly, softer, with more features. The second generation Freedom Driver, remember the first one is a 13-pound or 6 kg backpack. The second generation Freedom Driver, available by 2025, will be reduced to a 2 kg device that can be worn around the waist and is even quieter at 45 decibels. We're working on the 3rd generation driver that can fit into the chest cavity, and depending on where TED's technology is at the time where it's available in 2027, this could be the world's first fully implantable total artificial heart. As I talked about long-term therapy, we're quietly confident about application for that indication. Compared to the LVAD's successful application for long-term or durable, as a durable product, a durable device, we have a larger sample size with better clinical outcomes than the LVAD and expect approval in the next 12 months. Finally, in global expansion, we have a Chinese subsidiary that has already started the registration process with the NMPA, and in India, where we're getting the highest ASP at $200,000 per implant, we're waiting for our first implant. And this chart just kind of shows, we believe that with long-term indication and the next-gen drivers, we can be the ubiquitous standard of care globally by the end of the decade. Now, as we look forward to the fulfillment of our vision, where no one should ever have to die from chronic heart failure. Here are a couple more slides on the competition and on the management, which can be accessible on our website. If you have any questions, here are my QR codes, should anyone have a question or wish to reach out. Thank you very much.